start now? Welcome,
Yes.
Josephites. Thank you for joining us for the Jana Speaker Series session, Season 2. Today, we have Padma Shri Leander Paes joining us in conversation with Jimmy Anclasaria. My name is Anika, and I'm from the ISC 2009 batch St. Andrews House. A special thank you to the entire working committee of Josephites from all across the US who have worked tirelessly on several initiatives like this speaker series. Logistics for today. This session will be recorded. All participants will be on mute and you should turn off your video feed so we don't have any bandwidth issues. In case your video was set to turn on automatically when you joined, please turn it off. All participant questions will be sourced from our Jana LinkedIn page. Please post your questions there. Thank you again for joining us. I'll now hand it over to our MC, Ian Faria.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Anaga. Okay, now, this is a moment that we've all been waiting for. So, Leander, first of all, thank you for being here. And we are really indebted to you and to Dad for, you joining us on this speaker series. So just to give all of you an idea of both our super panelists, and I'm calling Jimmy also super panelist because Leander's called him uncle so many times on the brief chat that we had that I'm thinking, really, I got to call you uncle as well, Jimmy. So on the most serious note, though, Leander, you've been a superstar for Indian tennis. And, I think the country has already given you a number of awards. I don't know anybody in recent history who can boast of so many national level awards. So I'm just going to call out some of those. For instance, 3 decades, you played tennis across 3 decades. And I think the only other player to have done that is the great Rod Laver. Now, how has India acknowledged Leander? Let me tell you. The awards that have been given to him in 1990, that's way back in 1990, the Arjuna Award, the Dhyan Chand Khel Ratna Award, 1996, Padma Shri in 2001, and then the Padma Bhushan, which is the highest award given to any civilian in 2014 for his contribution to tennis. I think somebody with Leander's track record, it really goes into volumes and volumes of achievements. But one of the things, Leander, that I really loved is how some of the superstars, I'm talking about people like Martina Navratilova, Martina Hingis, people you've partnered already with, and the other stars that have talked so highly of you on a personal level, including how warm you were in the locker room and how you have helped so many people. Some of your interviews are just top draw. And so I'm thinking, why don't we have a full day session with Leander? But of course, I know how tight your time is and all the marvelous things that you do. So I'm going to say this. You're the master of not only clay and grass and all the other surfaces that they can provide for you. You have been playing, you have the maximum number of Davis Cup histories, I think 43 in all. The number of things that you have done, 8 men's doubles titles, 10 mixed doubles titles. This list just goes on and on. But the thing that I really would like to appreciate you for is you've been iconic for the nation. Every player who thinks of tennis would think of your name first. And so I'm thinking you need to get some more awards for being the most iconic sports ambassador that the country has ever had. So, Leander, thank you very much for joining us on the speaker series, and we are indebted to you for being here. Look forward to Jimmy tapping into your brains and getting a lot for all of us. Now, Jimmy doesn't need an introduction to the Old Boys Association of St. Joseph's. He's one of the tallest leaders that we have had, and that we could ever have. So, founder of the Anclasaria Group, studied in San Diego after he studied in St. Joseph's, of course. He's an entrepreneur, a philanthropist, started and successfully run 3 companies. And another thing that I love about Jimmy is he's not only just eloquent as he talks, but he's also written 2 books on supply chain. And Jimmy, you're one of the few people that I could spend hours and hours with. just a storehouse of information, but more than anything else, a warm heart filled with love. And I think Joseph's is indebted to have you as an old boy. So, Jimmy, on that nice note, I'm looking forward to hear Leander and what you're going to extract out of him, Uncle Jimmy. So, everyone, warm round of applause to both these wonderful gentlemen, and let's see what they're going to share with us today.
Oh dear, thank you, Ian. And hey, let me clarify the first part about the uncle. Okay, now, yeah, of course, Leander is much younger than me. And ironically, for St. Joseph's boys and girls, Leander shares a birth year with another distinguished, and a much revered Indian sportsman and Josephite, Rahul Dravid, right? So Rahul's also 1973, a few months older than Lee. But hey, the uncle part of it, let's make sure we understand. He's not calling me uncle as an uncle. It's Uncle Saria, so he just shortened it. Typical American style, And in fact, even when I used to play cricket in Bangalore, some of this, I was a bacha then, I was about 20 some years old. And people like Dr. Krishnamurthy or Dr. Timapaya, these are legends of Bangalore cricket. They would say, hey, uncle, go bat up. Pat up. So uncle's an easy name. Lee, so happy to see you, my boy. I'm really so thrilled. I don't know whether to call him, I used to be called son of the boss, SOB. What an SOB he is, son of the boss. So sometimes, he could be SOV, son of Wes. But I don't think any Josephite conversation can take place in sports without mentioning the name of Wes Paes. All right. So Wes, I hope he's on the line. Do you know, Lee, whether he's going to be on this call today?
Well, good evening, everyone. Uncle Jimmy, Uncle Ian, thank you so much for making me part of the Josephite group. It's a group that is, I've met a few times all around the world. It's a group that is so tight-knit and so close at heart. And that's the reason that I love being here today. That being said, one of the surprises I have for you today is that not only is my father a Josephite, but also my girlfriend, Kim, she's a Josephine.
All righty.
So woo! Surrounded by you guys. I can't go anywhere without you guys.
Here we go. Hey,
But,
I wanted to ask you to do what you did a few minutes ago, because my first leading question was about what was little Leander, 5, 6, 4, 3, whatever at young age, what were his goals when he was a kid? And I don't think there are too many people, usually a little boy, 5, 6 years, I want to be a fireman, I want to be a whatever it is, astronaut. And Leander, you had something, and I'd love you to show the picture of how you achieved your goal that was set. And you'll have to tell us how old you were in that little picture.
well, as you all know, I mean, I was born in 1973, June 17th. And when Dad went to the Olympics in 1972 in Munich, Mom and Dad were there together. Mom was there supporting Dad at the Munich Olympic Games, but Dad was there trying to win his medal. And during the Munich Games, Palestinian terrorists took 12 Israeli athletes hostage, and the games were shut down for 4 days. And during those 4 days when the games were shut down, I was conceived.
How about
So
that? Whoa!
In June 17th, 1973. And my father's always been my biggest hero. He's always been my North Star. He's always been my guiding light. He's my best friend. He's not only my doctor, not only my mentor, but he's Dada. And since I was a young kid, every Sunday that I used to come back from church, I would polish my dad's Olympic medal. And I would ask him what, that winged lady was. And she was the goddess of Athena. And he would explain to me what the Olympic movement was about, that the 5 rings on the Olympics were for the 5 different continents. He explained to me the different colors of the rings and what they were about. And really growing up as a kid, my only dream was to emulate my dad. And in 1992, I finally got to play my first Olympics in Barcelona. And it was quite an amazing Olympics. But at the Centennial Olympics, the 100th Olympics in Atlanta, I guess I got to live my dream. But what's unique and what Uncle Jimmy's talking about is this little picture of little Leander.
How about that? Woo!
And
How old was that? Less than a year, maybe 1 year old.
was really young there, but really, I guess he was onto something because that's the picture after I won my Olympic medal.
Oh
So
man. Oh
having a
man.
bit of by that. But my greatest dream as a young boy, Uncle Jimmy, was to represent India in the Olympics and to win a medal for 1.3 billion people. But most importantly, in the house was to make my dad proud.
And you sure have, and you sure have. And I assume now that I don't know how old is Ayana now. She must be a teenager because I saw her when she was a little one watching you, and I think she had a babysitter with her watching you at the U.S. Open. And I just didn't know whether to watch her or watch you because she was just like so animated. How old is she now? And she probably looks at you as her god. I mean, like, wow, my dad. So tell
Ayana,
us a little bit about Ayana as well.
Ayana's 16 years old now, and she's in Florida at the Nick Bollettieri IMG Tennis Academy.
Okay, so we do have another pace to look forward to.
She wants to be the third generation Olympian, and she says she wants to emulate Dadaji. So I'm like, what's wrong with me? Why, what happened? Because you have too much fun. You're always laughing.
Beautiful, beautiful.
You're having fun.
You know that
Dadaji,
that is so
Dadaji
wonderful. That's
wants to
and
be like
Ali,
a
I'm
friend.
so happy to hear that. This is in 5 minutes we've got so many new things we didn't know about. Terrific. Everything from when you were conceived to your daughter taking on and voluntary is about the best you can get. In fact, it takes us into a question that been brought up. For example, Akila Jairam has asked this particular question. She says, how do we encourage more parents and schools to support sport? Because most unfortunately most Indian families it's about study, study, study. Don't worry, sports is an additional thing. But look at the money. I mean, I'm just watching the IPL 153 for 5, and people are making money in sport today. So of course you don't have to be a legend like you, but how does what message is there to the average Indian family? Like, hey, this is a career, you can make it. I mean, look at you. So any questions, because any thoughts, because that's what Akila wants to hear from you.
I think that's a great question to start with, especially in this forum, because of the fact that when you look at tradition in sport, that always starts in schools. I believe that sports education is the way of the future. I believe that sports education, just as you said appropriately, Uncle Jimmy, is that not everybody could be a Sachin Tendulkar, not everybody could be a Rahul Dravid, not everybody could be a Doc Pace or something like that. But I feel that sports fitness, as in physical fitness, mental fitness, emotional fitness, these are very important to every single individual's lives. And I believe that that starts in school. So I'm sure all of you all remember when you were back in school, you had PE classes, right? And PE classes, you'll have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, stuff like that, where you go in and do physical training. Well, I believe that that 45-minute period, if that is customized into the three days a week that you have to do PT, if that is customized where one day it's about physical fitness, the second day it's about mental fitness,
So
and the
true.
third day it's about emotional fitness, then the interactions during that 45-minute period could
Brilliant.
make the whole country and the whole community of civilization, wherever we are, a healthier race, a more
Absolutely.
conscientious race, where we can look at our diet, we can look at our sleep timings, we can look at the kind of vitamins and minerals that we put into our bodies, we look at produce that we eat, and then we look at fitness. We look at not just going to a gym and pumping iron, but about getting out there and walking every day and jogging every day and doing activity that enriches our lives. I think that if you look at St. Joseph's itself, the amount of champions that you all have made out of the school in sport is mind-boggling to me, and not
And
just the
that's
numbers,
despite
but
the
just
fact that we still have, and that's in spite or despite the fact that we still have our PT, which is all that good old stuff, start, jump, go. Great point. Maybe for first of all, this is being recorded because there'll be a lot of people who are lazy bums who will wake up later on and want to listen to it. But it's a message, Ian, maybe Praveen. I know Praveen is the president of the OBA. Take this up. I think Leander's made a fantastic point. Let's see if we can get our PT classes at St. Joseph structured in the way he just mentioned. What a fantastic idea. And, elaborating on that, Lee, just you've been in there, you know what it is, the stress, the unbelievable. It's not just the game day, it's the prep before the game day, the prep after the winding down, and then having to deal with. I remember when you were at the Australian Open, you finish a game, of course, unfortunately, you lost that one. You're already preparing to fly back. We're waiting outside for you. You go for an ice bath. You take a certain amount of time to cool down. Then what do you have to do? You come say hello to your dad's friends, and then you have to run to make travel reservations and get another flight, etc. It's extremely stressful. So there are times when people like Naomi Osaka and others, they just break down. Not everyone is strong in the mind. So tell us about the inside of that circuit. How difficult is it? People think, oh, glamour, what lovely thing. They get on, they stay in beautiful hotels, etc. I've lived a little bit of that life of, I just finished 5 million miles in the air, and
Wow.
you just decide, what's glamorous about that? You take the number of hours of your life that you've been in the air, on the circuit, etc. So spend a few minutes with us on what is life like in that ATP bubble.
I think that is one of the biggest focus that successful people have today is about lifestyle. I feel like to be a champion in any walk of life, you have to command and control your lifestyle in a very specific manner. One is that we need to look at the goals that we set for ourselves. The goals can't be so far ahead that they're unattainable. I think we need to, once we set our goals for our lives, and there could be multiple goals, you also need stepping stones to get there. And I think it's very important to look at stepping stones in a monthly fashion, every month, every quarter, every 6 months, and every year. And if we look at, God willing, we live 75, 80 years now, a good quality of life thanks to modern medicine. If we plan out our futures really well, but look at stepping stones on how to get there, that's the first thing. The second thing, I feel like for someone like me who doesn't consider myself a very talented tennis player, why? Because I'm short for a tennis player. Most tennis players today, the average height is about 6'4". And at the same time, tennis technique is so specific that the technique on my backhand is not so sound. But my point I'm going to make here, it's not always being talented at something that gets you there. We believe in the theory of 10,000 hours and 3 million repetitions.
It's Andre
Where
Agassi's story, yeah.
exactly right. If any human being can focus on in any discipline, if you want to master an art, if you do that in specific repetition 10,000 times, sorry, let me rephrase that. If you do it 10,000 hours, 3 million repetitions,
Wow.
perfectly done, you get muscle memory. So if you do 10,000 hours, 3 million repetitions, you break it down to 3 hours a day, it takes 10 years. So it takes 10 years only to master anything. Now, if you want
So
to
what you're
be
telling me is when I'm 75, I'll finally figure out how to play golf. Yesterday, I was out there for 2 hours just hitting the ball over and over again. And I thought, well, maybe next week I'll be better, but I think now it's going to be when I'm 75. Okay. No,
Well,
you're
Uncle Jimmy,
absolutely right.
I had to find a sport, in a
Yeah.
competitive sport that would replace my tennis. So I do a lot of martial arts, but at the same time, I play all sport.
Yeah.
Golf is one of my favorites because I love to do my business on a golf course. Because if you ask anybody for a meeting, it could be a president, it could be a prime minister, it could be a businessman, an entrepreneur, it could be anybody.
Yeah.
They generally give you about an hour. Because you are who you are, you get about an hour and a half.
Absolutely.
But when you have someone on the golf course, you have
got
them for
it.
4 hours.
Yep.
No
Yep.
mobile phones, no
Yep.
secretaries calling in, no nothing ringing, no disturbance. That you got them for 4 hours to yourself. And if you can't close a deal in 4 hours,
Well,
then
you
we
don't
need
have to close any deal with me, but come visit when you're out here. Come to Indian Wells, and we stay at the La Quinta Resort. I'm sure you've been there. We've got 2 golf courses, and it's right up next to me. So come visit us. But Lee, you mentioned something about, you don't have to have the biggest serve. You don't have to be 6'4", right? So here's a question from Thomas Tecatella. He says, Leander, thanks for making time to speak to your dad's favorite alum group. Johnny McEnroe on commentary often repeated that you had the best hands in tennis. And I've heard that from numerous people. It's the best hands. While it's hard to compare players of different eras, who is the best all-court, all-surface player of your generation? Singles or doubles? Who do you feel had just the best game, regardless of height or speed or whatever?
Hi there, Thomas. Thanks for a great question. For me, that was a big honor where Johnny Mack, basically, who's one of the greatest volleyers or serve and volleyers of the 70s and 80s, complimented me on how fast my hands were and the variety I had at the net. And at the same time, Andre Agassi said in his book Open, he wrote about how my tennis technique was not so great. So to be able to rub shoulders with such great human beings, not just people who have achieved greatness in their field, but to partner Martina Navratilova, Martina Hingis, I think you learn a lot from life. You learn a lot from the people that you surround yourself with. For me, to answer your question, over the last 31 years, the most all-rounded player that I would have gone through in the 8 generations that I played through would be Roger Federer. I feel the simple reason being that he has won on every single surface. He's very versatile in his style of playing. He can serve and volley when he needs to on the indoor courts in London at the O2 Arena. He can stay back and play from the baseline when he plays in Hamburg or at Roland Garros. He can also at Wimbledon over the years, Uncle Jimmy, in the 90s when I was winning junior Wimbledon and the doubles at Wimbledon, the courts were very fast. On that center court, the ball would bounce somewhere between your shins and your thighs, and the ball would skid through, especially in the morning when the dew was on center court or at the All England Club, the ball would skid right through.
Right.
But then as time wore on and as they redid the courts and they built court number 1, the stadium court, they built court number 2 and 3, the stadium courts, they had to look after the drainage at Wimbledon because they lost so many hours of rain. So hence, they dug up the full surface, 6 feet of it, and they put a drainage system underneath of concrete. And then they laid 4 feet of grass on top of mud on top of that, and then laid the grass. The concrete underneath made Wimbledon much slower. It made the ball bounce higher. So now the ball bounces between your thighs and your shoulders. So sometimes when you hit a kick serve, you're playing it above your shoulders, which in the 80s and 90s was never the case.
And that's what gave people like Rafa Nadal a chance. Otherwise, Rafa would have had no chance at all to win Wimbledon. Right?
That's exactly right, Uncle Jimmy. That's why Rafa Nadal has won Wimbledon. That's why Leighton Hewitt has won Wimbledon. That is why Djokovic has won Wimbledon, you see. And it's because of the resurfacing of the surface, but also they changed the tennis balls. The tennis balls at Wimbledon over the years, Slazenger's the ball that we use, has become a lot thicker, bigger, and a lot harder. So hence it goes through the air much slower. Back in in 1990, when I won junior Wimbledon, I could actually cup the ball in my palm and I could just cup it completely. You wouldn't see the ball. But now, when I actually try and cup the ball, half the ball still shows because it's just grown so much in size. The felt around the tennis ball has gotten thicker.
And so have the rackets. The rackets have gotten bigger and stuff like that. So like everything else, I mean, for those cricket lovers, it's the change from test match cricket to one-day internationals to T20. And if you look back at my heroes of, G.R. Vishwanath days and stuff like that, I can't imagine little Vishy hitting the ball 100 meters or 80 meters. And here are some, what I call these thin, lanky little fellows cracking the ball. Because again, the bats have changed. The balls are different today. The white ball, we didn't even know what a white ball cricket was. So yeah, Grace, adapting is the name of the game. And you've adapted so beautifully through 3 decades, fantastic. So here's a question which I'm sure you've been asked 100 times, but it'll be nice to hear it from you. It comes from Subbu. He says, thanks for speaking to us. I have a 2-part question. He says, I watched and followed almost all your matches and have been a fan of yours, especially the games with Martina Hingis. Maybe it's just because she's pretty. Which one is your favorite, Martina Hingis or Martina Navratilova?
Subbu, thank you so much for all the support over the years. It's people like you who have motivated me to play for 30 years and keep reinventing myself. to be the best I can be. I am going to plead the fifth and stay away from answering your question.
Smart guy, because you're going to meet them someday again and it's going to be tough, right?
I was on the phone last night with Martina Navratilova, and we're having a good old chat about, 2003 when we won Wimbledon together. And I was having a chat with Martina Hingis last week, and she was talking about how we won 4 Grand Slams in a 16-month period. The Australian, the French, Wimbledon, and the US to complete a career Grand Slam in 16 months, which was is a world record till
and
today.
that also was a world record for Martina Hingis to become one of the few who won singles and double Grand Slams, right? I mean, all 4.
That's exactly right.
Brilliant, yeah.
And in 2003, Uncle Jimmy, Martina Navratilova and myself won Wimbledon. And again, that's another Guinness Book of World Records for, at that time, for the oldest lady.
47 years old, I guess, right? She was 47.
She was 50 at the time.
Really? Okay. I always thought she was 1 year older than me. But anyway, I can't hit on her because, whatever other reasons as well. But no, what a legend to play with. And you must have learned so much from Martina Navratilova, and then have to share that with Hingis, because Hingis is younger than you. Martina was much more, senior. So, tell us about how doubles players actually work with one another and carry one another, because it's, bringing your style to a person who's a flat, hard-hitting person, learning how to balance one another, because you're 2 different people, but you're playing on the same team. So talk to us a little bit about that teamwork. You've had more double partners than I think anyone in the world of doubles, in such a long career. So talk to us about the various strategies with different types of players. How do you play on different surfaces with different types of players in different countries?
So, Uncle Jimmy, I've had 131 men's doubles partners approximately in my 30-year career, and I've had about 25 mixed doubles partners. So I feel like tennis technique or physical fitness are all prerequisites, especially when you're playing at this level, in the Grand Slam level. But really what is unique is that, especially to these 2 champions, Martina Hingis and Martina Navratilova, is everyone's personality is different. So I feel that, for me personally, I feel that it is much better for us to adapt ourselves to the different partners we have, rather than ask them to adapt to us. I feel that it's very important to take the time to understand the people that you're surrounding yourself with, or to understand your teammates or your partners or your colleagues. It's very important to ask the right questions, especially in the beginning of a partnership, to understand and really listen to what they're saying, even listen to what they're not saying, because that tells you a lot.
Tremendous,
and when
yeah.
you get to see people in how they handle adversity, how they handle winning, how they handle losing, how they handle a close line call when the ball falls close to the line or not, or whether the ball has touched them or not, whether they own up to that or not. You get to see human beings in their most vulnerable moments. And for me, this is the great thing about the vehicle of tennis, or the vehicle of trying to be a champion, is you get to touch and feel human beings. And you get to understand their strengths and weaknesses all the same. And at the same time, I feel the champions have a uniqueness to them, which is passion, honesty, commitment, camaraderie, focus on the goal, hard work, an ability to adapt mentally on the moment. In a tennis match at Wimbledon, which is 5 sets, after playing 5 hours and 28 minutes, you could be 2 sets all, 5 all in the 5th, and down a break point.
Yeah.
And what happens then if the ball does touch you by mistake? Do you own up to it or not?
Wow, tough one.
What happens to you in the finals of Wimbledon when your partners just served a double fault? What happens to you when you're playing at the US Open and you've hit a great return and your partner's on top of the net ready to cross, and because of the nerves, they forget to cross. How do you react to that?
Yeah, yeah.
What happens when you win the semifinals and you feel like you've just beaten the #1 team in the world, or you feel like really good about yourself, and you go out there in a press conference and the media ask you, you're the favorite to win tomorrow in the finals? How do you answer that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Got a match to play tomorrow.
Gosh.
So I think these are the great lessons that I've been very blessed to be born to a family like I was. My father, Dr. Leander Paes, his speciality was on human psychology.
Mhm.
I feel like my stepmom, Juliana, who is such a big responsibility in nurturing the family and keeping us all well connected, she never forgets a birthday. She
That's right.
always calls me for birthday. Sometimes I forget my birthday because I haven't been home for my birthday since I was 12 years old.
Oh my
Now these
goodness me.
are all sacrifices, right? I haven't, been home for my birthday or my dad's birthday or my mom's birthday or my sister's birthdays or anniversaries, or I miss both my sister's weddings because of this.
Oh gosh,
There's
yeah,
some
that's tough.
and tunnel vision to achieving something for the country and for your family and yourself. You don't look at it as sacrifices, Uncle Jimmy.
Yeah.
You look at it as just part of the journey.
Yeah, you've got some amazing family, and how's Juliana's shoulder, by the way? Is
Oh,
she
healing well.
recovering?
She's
Yeah,
healing
good.
well, and thank you
Good.
for asking. And
He's
we're going to see her
fantastic.
next week. Dad's just celebrating his 76th birthday on the 30th of April. So we're all
Well,
going to go to Calcutta and celebrate with him. But
happy
just to
birthday, Wes. Yeah.
thank you. Just to finish off on how champions are made, Martina Navratilova and Martina Hingis are two different champions. Navratilova is a born leader. She plays very aggressive tennis, being a southpaw, left-handed, very creative because she's governed by the right brain. And she is so creative and likes to be in control, especially under pressure. She wants the ball on her racket. Martina Hingis, on the other side, also one of the greatest champions of all time, is more relaxed, more peaceful. Everything is smooth and flowing, and she would like to sit back and watch what the opponents are doing for the first 15, 20 minutes of a match. And she would like me to lead.
Mhm.
So hence, rather than asking them to adapt to me, the beauty of my training and my lessons that I've learned from my coaches is that with someone like Navratilova, I had to adapt and just be the solid one. Just dot the I's, cross the T's, be solid, make the returns, get the first serve percentage high, and let her do a magic, set her up. Whereas with the Martina Hingis, whose basics were so solid, I had to go for the lines. I had to really be aggressive. I had to get into the opponent's face and really ruffle them up a little bit sometimes and play aggressive tennis. And I think that's the beauty of life.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Assess the task at hand and then have the mental aptitude to adjust to that. It makes it more fun also.
You know, Lee, you had mentioned you had a long chat with my younger daughter, Avi, if you remember. And one of the things that I took away from that when you were talking with her was the importance of training, the importance of preparation. And what I found is two great people that I'm privileged to know, you and Rahul Dravid, our very own Josephite. Rahul had a conversation with my son as well. And amazingly, and I know you guys didn't write the same script or read the same thing, you all both said exactly the same thing, which is you can't walk into a big game and expect to perform. You train, and then you just back yourself in the match. You can't start thinking. Are you nervous? Sure you are. I mean, who's not nervous? Even Roger Federer is nervous the minute he walks onto center court. But you back yourself. So talk to us about what specific things. I remember you talking to Avi about the burst, like running the 100 meters, like you've got to push. So give us some things about what did Leander and Martinez and others, or what did you all do in terms of preparation? Walk us through maybe the week before the tournament begins, and then, what do you do? What's your regimen to be so good when you get on court and fire on all cylinders?
Uncle Jimmy, firstly, I just want to address on how much respect I have for Rahul Dravid. Not only
Who
is he
doesn't,
considered
right?
but Rahul to me is one of the greatest champions we've ever had in our country. Not only is he a fantastic role model for Josephites, but he's also the most phenomenal model when it comes to youngsters growing up. I feel when you look at his brand of cricket, when you look at the way he carries himself, when you look at the way he was a champion in the test team as a player, and to me today, he's one of the greatest coaches we have out there because he's taken the Indian under-19 team to the World Cup winning team. He's
Mhm.
also coaching the national team, and how he guides them along. I think that knowing Rahul for these many years and having the good fortune to have so many conversations with him, his life lessons also come back to school. His life lessons also come back to family. His life lessons come back to pedigree and a family environment that
Pedigree.
he grew up with that actually nurtured him as a human being and subsequently a champion. I think that when it comes to preparation for matches, as much as the physical and sports education that my father and myself have been studying, me, I've been the guinea pig for 40 years, but dad's been doing sports education for 60 years. And over that time, he has trained about 20 million athletes over Southeast Asia. The
Wow.
thought process is that a human being's brain is already preconditioned before the age of 4. So by the time you're 4 years old, your human responses to what's coming at you is already conditioned. Now from there, it's about setting the environment. And in our youth, it's basically about our parents and our teachers and our schools setting up that environment to challenge us in how we react to different situations. Now that reaction is unique to each person. You could put 10 people in one room and give them the same situation. You'd probably have 7 or 8 different reactions. And I think the beauty of what I've been taught and what my humble thinking is that if every single day we can learn one thing new, that is 365 things in 1 year. And if we can every day lay one brick to our foundation, by the time we are 10
The
years old,
palace. Yeah.
you got a palace. You got some serious solid foundation. Now, it doesn't mean that if I make a mistake that I can't remove that brick, but I can, and I can refine it and I can change it again. So I feel that being a champion of life is about constantly changing the environment to challenge yourself and to keep polishing your skills that parents have given to us, our genetics we have inherited, or the school environment we're brought up in, or what the coaches tell us. In my career, I've gone through 15 coaches, some great coaches, Tony Roach, Bob Carmichael, Rick Leach,
Wow.
who's won 9 Grand Slams,
That's-
Gene Mayer, who was #2 in the world in singles doubles, Jimmy Connors coached me for a little while. When you learn from so many people, it doesn't mean that anybody's wrong. It means it's a different perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's really important is what you absorb from them.
And I think,
feel
Lee,
if
what you
can
absorb, but
learn-
also what you filter, right? Because uh, while I've never been a great sportsman, apart from broadcasting it, I've had an opportunity to be with the really truly greats. You know, again, whether it was in my days, it would have been people like Chandra, Bedi, Prasanna, you know, GR, Brijesh, Sunny Gavaskar, and others. What I found was, you know, or Rahul for today, they are so good at what they do. And yet they're so humble, they listen to advice from others and make modest changes. I'd asked Rahul this question once when I met him with my son or daughter, I'm not sure who. And it was like, Rahul, how do you deal with it? So my question to you, Lee, is you just mentioned you've got all these great people surrounding you, giving you advice. And then with due respect, you have, as they say, 1,000 people who are nobody, who will always feel they have an opinion. And they're constantly telling you, you should do this, you should do that. And it's like, how do you filter? Because sometimes someone who is not the greatest player, great example, Harsha Bhogle. Harsha's never played some super big level of cricket, but yet he knows the game so darn well that even someone of Rahul or Tendulkar level will listen to what Harsha says. So how do you, Lee, in your career, how did you filter someone who is not really a big name, but who has a fantastic idea that can change your game for the better, versus, someone who just loves to talk and think they're big shot, and you politely nod your head and, let it in from one ear and out the other. I'm sure you experienced that in your life. So how did you deal with it?
One of my godmother, Mother Teresa, once told me that you could learn from kings and paupers all the same.
Beautiful.
Is that to listen,
Yeah.
you have to
Beautiful.
observe and ask the right question.
Brilliant, brilliant. Oh wow, that really is something. Hey, let's take on a couple more questions because I don't want to run out the time. Our very host here, Giridhar Naik, says, Leander, so wonderful you could join us on the speaker series. Where do you see Indian tennis headed in the future? Do you know any upcoming stars who could put India on the tennis map that we should all be following?
Giri, first of all, thank you so much for all your communication over the last couple of weeks. Thanks to you and Uncle Ian and Uncle Jimmy and all of you all. We've been able to put this wonderful conversation together. So thank you again for guiding me. I have tremendous respect for any Indian youngster who's out there trying to achieve greatness. Because coming from a country like India, especially in our sport and tennis, pertaining to your question, in the 80s and 90s, the infrastructure was not that great. Even now, if you go to any American college, university college, you'd have at least 6 indoor courts. You'd have at least 6 outdoor tennis courts. You'd have a running track. You'd have physiotherapy units. You'll have mental training. The facilities are phenomenal. In the whole country of India, we don't have one indoor tennis court today.
Seriously, oh my goodness me.
So in the monsoon season, as all of you all know, 3.5 months of the monsoon season, you had another 2 months of summer, which is brutally hot at about 50, 51 degrees Celsius and 100% humidity, especially around the equator. There ain't no outdoor sports happening during the day. So for me, I feel like as much as all these smart gadgets have come in now, and your iPhones and your iPads, and gaming is becoming such a popular thing, I am a brand ambassador to the Mobile Premier League, which MPL is basically a gaming company that has 1,000 new ways of playing professional sport. Now, they're also part of the Asian Games. They're soon pushing to be part of the Olympics. India's already Asian Games champion in gaming.
Wow.
So my point I'm trying to get at is that I have so much respect for all the Indian youngsters, boys and girls, who are out there traveling the world when you don't have an association who funds them. You don't have a club that funds them. You don't have a college or a university or a club that gives them infrastructure. It's not easy out there. And hence, having done it myself, I understand the difficulties that there are. I'll share one story with you now. When I was 18, in 1990, I won Junior Wimbledon. In the winter of 1991, I had traveled for 10 months, had not come home once, missed all my birthdays, parents' birthdays, and all of that was already something you didn't even think of. But for 10 months, having not come home, I was in Wolfsburg, Germany. And I had 20 francs in my pocket and an Air India ticket coming home. Wow. I didn't have money to sleep in a hotel room. So that night when I landed in Frankfurt, I hitchhiked a ride from Frankfurt to Wolfsburg. And when I got there, I put my 2 tennis bags into the locker room, and I took out my racket bag and I went out and practiced all day, trying to figure out where I was going to sleep that night. Because the next day, Saturday and Sunday, I had to play 3 rounds of qualifying to make it into the main draw and earn my hotel room. Well, that 20 francs in my pocket was not going to go very far. So I got innovative and I figured out who the locker room attendant was. And at about 8:45 p.m., I managed to figure out that this big German guy, he was balding, who was sitting at the end of the cafeteria, was the locker room attendant. So I went up to him, and with 5 francs, Uncle Jimmy, I bought him a cappuccino. And I sat with him, and with my broken German and his broken English, I got him to understand that I needed to sleep in the locker room because I didn't have any money.
Wow.
Well, his eyes welled up. He finished his cappuccino. He grabbed me by the shirt and he took me down to the locker room and he gave me 3 towels. 1 towel as my bed. 2 towel
Yeah,
as your pillow. 3 towel. 5 a.m. I come back. You wake up, shower, get out, go play tennis. Members come 5:15. And by the way, the window in that corner, fire come, you jump out.
Oh, dear me.
He locked me into the Wolfsburg tennis arena, and I was there, I think, from about 10 p.m. till about 5 a.m. till he came in, when he locked me in and came and opened up in the morning. I didn't sleep much that night, Uncle Jimmy. I sat up thinking, if I played for England, or if I played for America, or if I played for Singapore or China, would it be better off? But at the same time, I also knew I came from pedigree where my mom's jersey was number 5, and it was light blue. My dad's jersey was number 10, was also light blue. I bleed blue through and through, and that night I promised myself I would never have to sleep in a locker room ever again.
That's brilliant.
I won my 2 matches. I qualified. I got myself a hotel room. It was quite warm, Uncle, in the hotel, because outdoor in Wolfsburg in the winter, there's about 20 feet of snow outside. So locker rooms are really cold. But once I qualified, I manifested so much of hunger in my belly to succeed that I won the Wolfsburg tournament. That's
brilliant.
And went on from there to, rewrite the history books. But
oh my gosh, this is choking me, to say the least, and it's really embarrassing. Fortunately, you're now in a position where you don't have to sleep in a locker room, and maybe you'll also be in a position where you can help someone else so that they don't have to sleep in a locker room. And that's the beautiful thing about giving. I love the way you said you bleed blue, and you wear blue. And I was wondering, is that blue colors of India or St. Joseph's? But we'll take it either way. We'll take it either way. No, Lee,
I was in house as well in school through my years. So because of my dad, I'm always going to be having a soft corner in my heart for Joseph's.
Oh,
always.
Tremendous. No, and we really, really appreciate it. No, so, let's just, this was so touching to hear the past. What about the future? What does Leander have in mind for his future? Given all these experiences, the good and the not so good, how are you going to take all of that? And, you've got hopefully 40, 50 years to go, because you're young, you're fit, and you'll touch 100 without any problem. But what are you going to do the next few decades?
Uncle Jimmy, this COVID-19 virus and the pandemic has been a huge pivot point for a lot of us. It caught so many of us by surprise, and it's created hardships in some ways. I myself have lost 69 very dear family and friends.
Seriously, wow!
It's been a hard 2 years, but also at the same time, it's given me a vehicle to reach out and support so many people. So many people that were in trouble or needed things done or needed support. And I think this is the beautiful connectivity that we have as the human race, is that it's very important to stay focused in community. It's very important in this whole modern social media, smart gadget, me, myself, and I'm the brand, I'm the this environment that we're living in today, to actually focus on your neighbors, on your teammates, on your family, on your friends, and be connected to community. So everything that I do as brand Leander is about a story to make a difference to people around the world. Wow. I'll break it down in a nutshell. In India itself, my target audience as a brand is to every kid who's under the age of 25. You know how many people that is? 745 million kids.
Unbelievable.
Under the age of 25 in India. That is 55% of our population. 745 million kids. So I'm very blessed to have had my parents' legacy, to have worked hard to earn my own um, respect or my own vehicle to reach out to people. But I treat that with utmost respect, because all the businesses I do, whether it is sports education, that dad basically formulated the PACE system, which is the Physical Athletic Education System, the PAES system, now
Oh,
to
wow.
take and reach out to all the children in schools all around the country and then colleges all around the country, and try and build a healthier community through physical fitness, mental fitness, and emotional fitness. There is a curriculum, and we've broken it up into years of 4 at a time. Boys and girls develop at different times differently, so it's customized there. But my job is to take that out and to honor my father, where I was his guinea pig and he wanted his first son to be an Olympic champion. But I don't want that knowledge just to, finish off with me.
Right.
I want to use myself as a vehicle to reach out to every child in the world and teach them how winning is done. It
Well,
doesn't matter.
I'll ask a question for a child because dear friend of mine has a 10-year-old girl. She is an unbelievable, keep her name in mind, okay, Andrea. And she is a fantastic player. I wish someday, I'll be sitting in her box, okay? And she's 10 years old, fantastic player, but she plays in the 12s and 14s because she's so good. But she's been getting really frustrated recently because at that age, and I think Ayana probably went through the same thing as well. I'd love to hear your opinion. They'll end up with kids who play moonball, kids who cheat, kids who, it's so frustrating. They want to give up the game because they're little young minds. They can't take it. How do you, what advice do you give someone just to help them get that little kid past the 10, 12s, and their talent and pedigree will eventually show? So what advice would you give someone like that? Don't give up at this stage, but what would you say? How would you, as a tennis player, what should she be doing?
I'll share a very funny story with you quickly. You mentioned moonballing, and that
Yeah,
means
sure.
ball high over the net and really slowly with no pace. So
Yeah.
the
And
opponent
they
doesn't have
somehow
any.
get the ball back. Every single, you bang the ball, they somehow get it back and high up in the air. So tell us about that.
So I was 9 years old, and for the first time I was playing against a young girl. Divya Merchant was her name. Now Divya was really tiny, short, but perfect technique. And when I walked on the court, I was 9 years old, and I said, "There's no way I can lose to a girl, right?" And at that
Ooh,
point in the under 10s, you're playing first to 9 games. And Divya from point one realized that she couldn't beat me on speed or agility or power. She started moonballing. And that was the first time I faced a moonballer and I didn't know what to do. So I was down love 8.
ooh.
25 minutes, first to 9, I was down love 8. And I was literally crying during the side changes, thinking I'm never going to live this down, losing to a girl, right? And that to 9 love.
Bagel, yeah.
That then I had to think out of the box. That every time I hit the ball hard, it would just be blooped back. Every time I hit the ball hard again, it would be blooped back. So I started moonballing back myself. I started thinking out of the box. And because she was so tiny, the ball would bounce and bounce over her head. 8-1. Then I'd moonball again to a backhand side. And because she had two-handed backhand, she couldn't reach out.
Yeah, yeah.
8-2, 8-3, 8-4, 8-5, 8-6. At 8 all, I suddenly realized, should I go back to hitting the ball hard again? And then I said, no, don't change what's working for you.
Mhm.
If it's not working, adapt.
Yeah.
But if it is working, stick with it. And luckily, from the skin of my teeth, I won that match 7-5 in the tiebreak, and I beat her 9-8. I would have
Wow.
never lived that down ever in my life. So
Yeah.
sometimes the moral of the story is, in this context, that you have to think out of the box. It's not always the best player that wins.
Mm.
It's the best performer on that day that wins.
Hey, brilliant. Yeah.
That's one. Two is
Oh,
that
wow.
in my career, I've wanted to give up playing and just, I don't know if you call it retire, but just out of frustration, just mental frustration. You brought up Naomi Osaka, who's such a great champion, and I feel like the pressures on young kids nowadays, the millions and millions of dollars in prize money, the millions and millions of dollars in endorsements, considering tennis as an equal opportunity sport for both girls and boys. The millions and millions of advertisement money as well as adulation around the world means that you live in a fishbowl environment.
That's right.
I think it's very important, as my dad taught me young, that sure, you could cheat once on a line call, but you got to rest your head on your own pillow. Sure, you could.
Oh man, beautiful.
You could behave badly once and think you get away with it. But people will always remember you got to rest your head on your own pillow. Maybe you could cheat your age. Maybe only 1 year, only 2 years. I played against players who have cheated their age 7 years.
Oh my gosh.
You're playing under 12s and they've got big old beards. But then when you get to 18, 19 years old, it all catches up.
Yeah.
Sometimes you think in the modern world, taking performance enhancing drugs, performance enhancing steroids, maybe you won't get caught. But at the end of the day, you can't cheat life.
That's right.
You can never cheat yourself.
Oh, brilliant, Leander.
Your own pillow. And even if you manage to cheat someone else, it catches up to you. I'm a big believer in karma, and I believe the same people you meet on the way up are the same people you're going to meet on the way down. So be damn good to them, because it'll always come and help you later. I also think that when you look at life in general, I think that people remember how you make them feel, not what you say to them. It's very important to feel the vibrations of a human being, because also in this modern world that we live in, people sometimes say things that they don't necessarily mean. People sometimes come in there and to protect themselves because they don't know who to trust or who not to trust. They sometimes come in and just say things to make themselves feel protected, that they're not giving out their truths or not giving out their family secrets or not giving out their own secrets. But I think it's always important to listen to what someone is not saying, to also get to understand the human being's vibrations, because I believe that we're all come from the animal kingdom, that if we act and body language and the tone of our voice or the pitch of our voice or the speed with which we speak with, or the way we give a firm handshake, or the way we give a hug, or the way we use our smile, or the way we look at somebody. 1 second of my day, which may be a really busy day, maybe I'm busy for 23 hours, 59 minutes. But for that 1 second that I get to touch that one child's life, or I get to touch that one human being's life, if I genuinely look at them and give them a smile and say, how are you, my friend? And make them feel good about themselves. Maybe they go home and they remember that their whole lives, and they can be a champion to their full family and to everyone they touch.
Beautiful.
I think it's very important to leave people with a feeling, with vibrations feeling, rather than with just words.
Oh, tremendous. Lee, I cannot tell you how much we appreciate this opportunity. As Ian correctly said, we could have done this all day. But I'm going to ask one last question about the future of Leander. Just listening to you, I mean, I've not had a chance to have such an, in-depth, long conversation of this level. Any possibilities of getting into the commentary box?
Commentary is something I've done before, Uncle Jimmy. I enjoy it. I love it. But I feel like when I look at that audience of 745 million kids, I feel like there are other vehicles out there that I can make a bigger difference.
Okay.
So I'm focusing on those things. Sports education is one of my big ones. Speaking and interacting like this is one of my favorite things to do. Tomorrow I've got another one. The next week I've actually got 5 different corporate and educational talks that I reach out to people. through the pandemic, I had done over 2 years, I had done 350 plus talks like
Wow.
this. And I
Wow.
think that the difference in people's lives is really important. It's something that I take quite seriously and something I really enjoy because I actually get to learn. And that's the fun part. Like today, I brought out something that I'm not sure how many of y'all have ever seen an Olympic medal or touched one. But because of all of you today, I went back to my safe and I pulled out my Atlanta Olympic medal. And I got a chance to actually touch and feel it because I'm really blessed to be part of a family that is second generation Olympic champion. So
Show us
this
the
is the
other
box
medals.
that the
That's
Olympic
best have it.
medal comes
Oh.
in. And this is the actual medal there.
Oh, wow. Woo!
And
Terrific,
it's
terrific.
Atlanta.
And to know that there are two Paes who have represented India and both received a bronze medal. And of course, Vess also was part of the 1975 World Cup winning team of India in Kuala Lumpur. And hopefully, I'm not sure, when is Ayana going to play Junior Wimbledon?
I'm not sure about the juniors, Uncle Jimmy, but I think that just to have a young daughter who is persevering her dream and to be able to
Yeah.
give her that vehicle to be the best she can be
Yeah. Oh,
is a
that's
big
right.
blessing as a father. And
Yeah.
for me, I think the greatest thing I've ever done in my life is to be a single parent and to look after Ayana and give her her opportunities to hone her skills.
And
Is
despite
fantastic.
your traveling life as well. So kudos to you. Kudos to you.
Thanks, Uncle.
So with that, you know, we bring to an end this wonderful chat with Leander. I hope everyone has got to know him, the person, the wonderful human being he is. We are so proud of you, Lee, and of course your whole family. Again, thanks to Vess for bringing you into the world. And I'll turn it back to Ian Ferreira, but on behalf of everyone on the Josephite community, this podcast is going to go hopefully viral because, you know, we were just looking for a few people to show up so that this doesn't become a boring little chat. But thanks again, Ian. It's over to you, and God bless you, Leander. Thank you so much, sir.
Uncle Jimmy, and to all of y'all at St. Joseph's and the alumni, I want to thank you very much for nurturing my dad and being such a great friend of his and such a great comrade and colleague of his, to share with him through his schooling days. Because all the values that you all have learned at St. Joseph's have been instilled in me through my father. So I'd like to say thank you to every one of y'all for not only having me here today and letting me share my story, but also for being such a great family and friend of my dad's. God bless all of you and big love. Stay safe.
Thank you, Lee. And I hope I'll see Vess in September. I just bought my ticket yesterday. I'll be there for Old Boys Day this year, Ian and Praveen and everyone else. So hopefully Vess will meet again. God bless. Thank you. Ian, over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. Thank you. Leander, wow. I mean, you couldn't have expected a better way to spend an evening in India and a morning in the US. Just outstanding. And some of the things that you said, Leander, locker room at Wolfsburg, whoa. You know, I almost had tears in my eyes thinking about that. The great Leander Paes was in that kind of position at one time. But some of the things that you said, and we have to take it home as Josephites. Number one, you said, learn one thing every day and you learn 365 things in the year. I thought that was fabulous. The other thing that I want to close with is the lines that you use of Maya Angelou. I might forget what you said, I might forget what you did, but I will always remember how you made me feel. And Leander, today you made us feel just the power of being Indian and bleeding blue. And for that, I can't thank you enough. And the Josephites cannot thank you enough. And thank you for the Josephite spirit and the Josephine spirit. And may your life become a lot more successful and may you touch millions of lives more, just like your dad did 20 million lives in sport. You're going to touch, I'm sure, at least 100 million. Thank you, Leander, and may God be with you. Thanks,
Thanks,
Jimmy.
guys. Thank you. Normally, we close with a few comments, and since Thomas Tekatala is not here, you know, this is more for the Josephite group. Everybody, I'd like you to spread the message, get these, podcasts spread among your friends and families. But also don't forget that we're all part of a Josephite network. And today, my appeal on behalf of the Old Boys Association and Old Girls Association of St. Joseph's is try to give back. So wherever you are, whether you're in the United States like I am, whether you are in India like Ian and everyone else, try to get yourself involved. There are so many projects going on, and it's not all about money. If you have it, that's always welcome. But give your time, give your talent, and most importantly, spread the Josephite spirit. So on behalf of everyone, we normally would sing the school song, but the last couple of times it was butchered with the internet where everyone starts singing at a different bandwidth. And so we'll just say faith and toil, and let's go Josephites. Thank you very much. God bless everyone.
Thank you to the organizers. Great job done. Thank you so
Super.
much.
Thanks, Lee. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone. God bless.
Okay. Anaga, you can guess formally close up the meeting. Ian, what do you think, man?
I thought it was brilliant. Yeah. Totally brilliant.